Various sources estimate the average deposit used to buy a house in the UK to be about 15% of the value of the property. So, for a house that costs the same as the average property in the UK, £286,489, a 15% deposit would be almost £43,000. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. For starters, even though the average deposit is about 15%, you don't have to save that amount. Mortgages tend to be available for up to 95% of the value of the property, meaning you may only need to save for a 5% deposit. You might have heard of mortgages that cover 100% of the property value, but these are rare and can be more expensive. There are also some risks involved with 100% mortgages. For example, if the value of the property decreases, you could end up with negative equity, where your house is worth less than the amount you've borrowed. Generally, the bigger your deposit, the better your chances of being offered good first-time buyer mortgages. If you've saved enough for a 15% deposit, mortgage lenders will likely see you as less of a risk than someone with a 5% deposit. As such, they should offer you lower interest rates. On top of that, the monthly repayments should be lower, too. And don't forget that the size of the deposit you need will also depend on where you want to buy a house. Using the figures we quoted earlier, a 15% deposit on an average property in the northeast of England would be about £24,000. But in London, where house prices are much higher, £24,000 would only be about 4.5% of the average value of a property. This wouldn't even be enough for a 5% deposit, usually the smallest amount required. In short, if you're trying to work out how big a deposit you'll need to buy a house, you should first work out where you want to live. Next, figure out your chances of saving a bigger amount to get a better mortgage. Then, set yourself a target of how much you'd like to save. You can use our tips below to get there. Here's why buying a house can be better than renting. Your monthly mortgage repayments go towards owning your home, rather than paying a landlord. You could make a profit if your house increases in value. You don't need to ask for permission to redecorate or have pets. You're not subject to a landlord's demands. This means no increased rent payments, changes to the property, or even eviction. There's no limit on how long you can spend living in a property. Why renting is better than buying. This is why renting a house can be better than buying. Moving house is a lot quicker and easier, which is ideal if you're not in a settled job or relationship. If the property needs any repairs, it's usually the landlord who has to organize and pay for them. If property prices go down, you won't lose any money. Short of getting an inheritance or being gifted a sizable chunk of money from your parents, opening a lifetime ISA, LISA, is probably the single biggest step you can take towards buying a house. LISAs are a form of savings account, or, more accurately, a type of ISA, that are designed to either be used for retirement or buying a house. Only a few providers offer lifetime ISAs, and the interest rates usually aren't great. The best savings accounts typically have higher. But don't let these things put you off. What's important is that for any money you pay into the account, up to £4,000 per year, the government will gift you a 25% bonus on top. That means that each year, there's up to £1,000 of free money on offer. It can add up to a total bonus of £32,000, equivalent to 32 years of saving £4,000 each year. You'll probably want to buy a home a little sooner than that, but even 5 years of saving the maximum amount will get you a bonus of £5,000. This alone would take your savings pot from £20,000 to £25,000. There are a few things you need to know before opening an account, though. There are restrictions on when you're allowed to withdraw the money and the maximum value of a property it can be used to buy. Make sure you read our guide to the Lifetime ISA first. Use a Help to Buy scheme. the lifetime ISA isn't your only option. There are a handful of other government-funded initiatives that also fall under the umbrella of the Help to Buy scheme. This includes programs that help key workers, military personnel, and those who live in council housing. All of these and more are covered in detail on the government's official website. However, there are two in particular that are intended to help first-time buyers, which we'll summarize now. First Homes. As the name suggests, this scheme is aimed at first-time buyers. It's one of the newest programs announced under Help to Buy, so very few houses are available through First Homes. This scheme allows people to buy selected new-build homes for at least 30% off the market price. Although, the local council has the power to increase the discount to as much as 50%. Crucially, if you're using First Homes, you must already live in the area. This is decided by the local council, and priority is given to key workers. It's also worth noting that new-build homes often come at a premium. While a 30% discount is extremely welcome, you may still find an older, equivalent-sized house for less. And if you're hoping to buy the house at a discount and sell it at full price, think again. The property must always be bought and sold under the same circumstances that you bought it. This means the buyer must meet the same eligibility criteria, and you must sell it with the same discount you received. That doesn't mean you can't make a profit, though. If the market rate has increased, applying the same percentage discount still means you're up. Shared ownership. The shared ownership scheme allows you to buy a portion of a house to help you get on the property ladder a little sooner. Through the scheme, you can usually buy a share of between 10% to 75% of a property. And, as you're not buying 100% of the house, you'll only need a deposit to cover the portion you are going to own. In other words, if you're trying to buy 50% of a £250,000 house, £125,000, you may only need a 5%, £6,250, or 10%, £12,500, deposit. The rest of the part you buy will need to be covered by a mortgage. Buying a house is a huge financial commitment, and undoubtedly one of the biggest steps you can take with your partner. As such, it's crucial to be sure that you're comfortable living with them before making arguably the biggest purchase of your life. The best way to do this is to rent together before deciding to buy. This way, you can work out if your relationship can stand the test of shared living. Obviously, you hope it can, but it's much better to find out before you've invested thousands of pounds and taken out a mortgage together. Of course, there is a bonus of moving in together before buying a house. If you're already living away from your parents, you should be able to save money on rent by sharing a room. Some landlords may slightly increase your overall rent if someone else moves into the property. But, you'll almost certainly be paying less than you would have been had you lived in the room, or entire property, by yourself.